Have you noticed how so many Hollywood movies portray Asians as nerdy or always buried in a book? So these type of stereotypes have affected Asians for a long time. And this is where 88 Rising comes in, by trying to chase away these stereotypes by helping the Asian music community. Good afternoon, everyone. We are the City University of Hong Kong, and together with my group mates Gwen, Richard, and Andreas, this is our presentation on 88 Rising. So 88 Rising is a unique player in the record label market. However, competition is rising, and we can ask one key question to address this. What steps can 88 Rising take in the next 5 years to grow sustainably? To address this question, our analysis has produced 3 key insights. One is that we see that 88 Rising tends to be known as a rap or hip-hop record label. So we see a potential for 88 Rising to change this brand perception and gain more presence outside this current genre through our solution rebrand. Next, we see that certain unsaturated markets are full of potential, but lack a platform for these to shine. Through our solution reach, we aim to tap into this unsaturated market and gain more artists and maintain that competitiveness. Lastly, we see that the CEO's vision to help the Asian community is strong. However, in order for 88 Rising to grow and be sustainable, this vision has to be implemented in every part of the company's operations and into the company's culture itself. Now, let's look at the analysis that drives our solution. First, let's take a step back and look at 88 Rising itself, which is a US-based record label that is known for having primarily Asian artists from a variety of countries such as China, Japan, Indonesia, and Thailand. Next, we see that they have strong ties with the Asian community for this because they provide representation for the Asian community. And so they are a rather personal and niche record label. However, 88 Rising tends to be known as a predominantly rap and hip-hop label, though they contain other artists from other genres such as K-pop, pop, and also R&B. The primary goal of 88 Rising is to promote and represent the Asian community. This is what differentiates 88 Rising from other record labels. Next, let's look at the artists. What makes an artist an 88 Rising artist? These artists are from Asian or Asian American heritage, descent, or identity. These artists are also have global appeal as they are mostly multilingual, and most of their songs are predominantly in English. Next, we see that these artists are very experimental and unique and have a very unique and artistic visual aesthetic because they try to experiment with their music by genre blending, experimenting with different styles and a lot of collaborations. So we see that the artists of 88 Rising tend to promote the label's vision itself through their own style. Lastly, let's look at what competition and threats 88 Rising faces. So we believe that the direct competition 88 Rising faces is major record labels such as Warner, Sony, and Universal. They tend to outweigh 88 Rising in terms of the outreach and opportunities that they provide for artists. However, when it comes to creative freedom and alignment of values, we believe that 88 Rising would win. Lastly, let's see some indirect threats that 88 Rising might face in form of streaming giants such as Spotify and Apple Music, which might even provide an alternative to record labels. So, though these threats exist, we do not believe it's as significant compared to the direct competition. So we believe that 88 Rising must stay competitive while aligning with its values and vision. This brings us to the key question: what steps can 88 Rising take in the next 5 years? How can it change its brand image into reflecting that it's not just a hip-hop label or a rap label, but something more? How can it attract more artists in these unsaturated markets, as we mentioned before? And how can the company reinforce its original vision? We aim to address this question through our solution rebrand, reach, and reinforce. Rebrand is changing the brand perception from a hip-hop record label to something more. Reach is reaching out to these new artists and providing them with a platform through social media, and reinforce is promoting the company's vision into its company culture. I'll now pass the time on to Gwen to dive deeper into the solutions.
Thank you, Ravisa. Now let me get you to our first solution, rebrand. This is aimed to answer the question on how can 88 Rising change the brand perception, not just for Asian rap, but also for the other genres as well. As currently mentioned, that 88 Rising is currently known as the rap record label. However, if we see their list of artist rosters, we can know that there is actually another existing brand that they already have, such as pop and R&B. So we can get to the information that we already observed. Next slide, please. Yeah, so from this information, we can know that 88 Rising can actually expand its brand recognition from just an Asian rap to even promoting other genres and the Asian cultures in general to the global scene. And we also see a trend that video on demand subscription is very popular right now. Therefore, our first solution, Rebrand, is aimed to produce a Netflix documentary film entitled 88 Rising Upbringing. This will tell the story on how 88 Rising can successfully promote the Asian culture to the global scene. First, we can start off with the CEO thoughts and vision about the 88 Rising itself, and then we can introduce our artists that comes from different genres. Then, these artists can help to explain how 88 Rising helped them from the first start of their career until where they are now, because now they're already such big names in the industry. And from this, we believe that our audiences can understand that 88 Rising is not just an Asian rap. Instead, it could represent the whole Asian culture and bring it internationally. We can also promote our Netflix documentary film through our artists, their followers, or their friends. And even we can also use the social media ads such as TikTok or YouTube or Instagram in order to reach a wider audiences other than just our artist followers. Now, the benefits that we can achieve from our solution rebrand is that after 88 Rising successfully showcased its vision better to promote the Asian culture, it could be recognized to a more diversified music genres beyond the Asian rap. And in addition to that, the artist itself can also gain more exposure because of our Netflix documentary film. Now, let me explain to you about our second solution, Reach. This is because we have a problem. There are a lot of artists from the unsaturated market that wants to break into the global scene. However, they don't have the access, the opportunity, and the platform to do so. So, with our solution Reach, we aim to attract these new artists through the social media and eventually gaining a competitive advantage for 88 Rising itself. Now, which market should we get into first? We have identified three types of Asian music markets, such as K-pop, Bollywood, and also Southeast Asia. And we assess them based on three types of criteria. The less saturated market will be better for 88 Rising to get into because it will have less competitors. And also, we see the similarity between the music in those regions with the music that 88 Rising has currently produced. And lastly, we also take into considerations about the sufficient market size that is possible for 88 Rising to develop in that region. And through our analysis, we believe that currently Southeast Asia is the best option for 88 Rising. Now, talking about Southeast Asia, let's take a look at Saifabel. She's my fellow Indonesians. She created a YouTube content which covers her songs, and also she currently have 50K of subscribers. Because of her consistency, she's not thinking of going more global or international. However, has the problem that I've mentioned before, she has no platform to do so. So how can 88 Rising help people like Saifabel? Just like Saifabel, there are also a lot of more promising Southeast Asian talents that want to break into the global markets. However, they have limited opportunities. Although, actually, in their local community or in their country, they can gain a lot of followers because of the niche preferences. This indicates that 88 Rising can potentially attract this kind of artists and emphasize the uniqueness of those artists that could be the competitive edge for 88 Rising itself. And we can see this. We can leverage the opportunities of the uprising trends in social media, such as TikTok and Instagram, to promote these things. Now, let me pass to Richard to explain about the second solution.
Thank you, Gwen. Now, let me guide you through our second solution's Reach, aiming to attract new artists from this new market of Southeast Asia. This will be in the form of social media challenge, where we will ask these potential aspiring global artists to post their original produce songs in English language using the hashtag of 88 Rise With Me. Then we will actually attract these potential artists to participate in this challenge by providing them the opportunity to have a mentorship opportunity with the current artist rosters of 88 Risings, as well as providing them a chance to sign a contract with us upon the completions of the mentorships program. This will help them to gain more popularity internationally and help them to build their fan base. And so we can actually do this by doing the challenge in an annual basis. First of all, we will attract and promote this challenge, and then we will select the top participants out of the competitors, out of the individuals that has participated and uploaded their videos. We select them based on several criteria, such as genre alignment with 88 Risings, as well as the current tractions that the individuals already have. But also, the most important part is the uniqueness that they could bring to the brand of 88 Rising. Later on, we will have them to go through a mentorships program with the current artists so that they could learn more about the music industry. And then, upon the completions of the mentorship program, we can decide whether or not we want to offer them an opportunity to sign a contract with 88 Rising. And so we believe that through this challenge, the organic social media crowd that we create on TikTok and Instagram will be promoting the challenge on its own. And so we don't have too much, we don't have to put too much effort on promoting this challenge. However, we could also ask our artists to introduce the challenge to their followers so that we could gain wider attentions because we are targeting the same target audience. And so, with these solutions, we believe that 88 Risings could have three major benefits. The first one is that 88 Rising will gain competitiveness as we have more artists from diversified backgrounds and music style. Our artists will also be benefited by having a wider audience base as fans can discover another artist from the same label. And also, with this challenge going on social media, 88 Rising will have a stronger brand awareness that could help 88 Risings to actually penetrate this market better. And so, let's go back to Seibabel, our fellow Indonesians. She now learns through our Netflix documentary that 88 Rising is more than just Asian rap. Instead, 88 Rising represents the whole Asian cultures, and it also caters to her music style. Now, she decided to join the 88 Rise With Me challenge as she follows one of our artists and saw the post on social media. She now has gained more popularity, and she's now shortlisted as one of the top 10 candidates potentially be mentored by 88's Rising current artists. This is how 88 Risings could help aspiring global artists in this unsaturated market like Say Babel to actually access the market while having more competitiveness for 88 Rising itself. Now, let me guide you through our third solution, reinforce, basically focusing on how we can manage these expansions and actually manage the change of our previous solutions. This is aiming to actually reinforce the visions of our CEO in order to actually better manage the expansions by solidifying our company cultures and structures. In our analysis, we found out that there are currently a lot of things to be done by the CEO. And so we need to delegate tasks to better manage this 88 Rising as a whole. And a proper organizational structures is actually needed to manage a larger scale expansions. We also see the needs of alignment of visions and culture across all levels of employees to maintain 88 Rising identity and purpose during these expansions. And so we believe that we can do this through two major steps. The first one is to structurize 88 Rising itself. We can hire an HR consultant to identify the best organizational structures that would work for 88 Rising. And based on these suggestions from that consultant, we could recruit the necessary leaders with the same visions and cultures aiming to represent the Asian community in a global scale. We can utilize their expert knowledge in the field to manage the change and expansions and leading the change better. Now, the important parts come in the second step, where we are going to align the visions of our CEO to each and every employee of 88 Risings. We will do this through our volunteering program that is catered to internal management team as well as our artists under the label. We will do this through collaborations with AAPI foundations in the United States, where we will interact closely with the Asian American community. This volunteering program will be conducted semi-annually in order to remind our artists and employees continuously that we are representing these people, we are representing this community, and we want them to know about the purpose of 88 Rising as a whole organizations. And so with these solutions, we believe that 88 Risings will have two major benefits. The delegations of tasks from the structurizations would lead to effective workflow for employees, having ATA Rising to have a better capacity of management of our artists. But also, the volunteering programs that aims to remind our visions will have our employees with a great, clearer work purpose, which will lead them to a better employees' performance. Now, let me pass the time to Andreas.
Thanks a lot, Richard. So I think it's clear to say that there's no complete solution without its own implementation plan. So first, let me talk you through the timeline of our solution. We have 3 solutions in total. So for our first solution, rebrand, first of all, as we all know, since we are going to produce the Netflix documentary and publish it on Netflix, we need to have the partnership talk with Netflix during the first 6 months of our first year. We then will take around a year to produce a documentary, and we'll start launching the documentary by the second half of second year. During the same time, we'll try to promote this documentary that we have to Netflix through our artists and also through our social media advertising. This will be done continuously until the end of our implementation period. For our second solution, Rich, we'll first prepare and select artists from our current roster that will lead this mentorship program. This will be done around 6 months in the first year. We'll then create some teaser and build up the hype of these challenges of social media so that people will be more eager to join it. We'll launch the social media challenge in our second year. This will be done on annual basis. And for first 4 months of every year, we'll do this to sort the candidate through the criteria that my colleague have mentioned. And then the rest 8 months will be used for a mentorship program by our artists. And lastly, for our third solution, Reinforce, first we will hire the HR consultant. We believe this will take around 8 to 9 months in the first year. And then after that, we'll start to reinforcing the solution that was given by the HR consultant by starting to change the structure and hire the necessary people to change the structure of the overall organization. And lastly, for our charity event, we'll do this continuously from our first year to the last year of our implementation. We'll do this twice a year. Now, we believe through our implementation of 3 solutions, Reinforce, Reach, and also Rebrand, we can help 88 Rising gain 1.47 million new followers. We can help 88 Rising recruit 4 new artists from Southeast Asia to diversify our roster. And lastly, we can improve overall 88 Rising employee alignment with the CEO vision. Regarding financials, we believe through the implementation of our solution, we can help 88 Rising get an additional revenue of $5.6 million that will be offset by some costs. The biggest cost will come from our first solution that will amount to 1.1 million. The cost of our second solution will amount to $100,000. And lastly, the cost of our third solution will amount to $50,000, which will bring us to a net profit of 4.33 million. The breakdown of each revenue and cost have been listed here in the right-hand side of the slide, and we can talk about it more in the question and answer session. Lastly, we also have identified some risks that might come up from our solution. The first one, for the first solution, we believe that there might be a risk that the viewership is lower than we expected. This is a medium likelihood risk with also medium impact that we can mitigate through promoting through additional methods. The second risk, which is quite big, is that the artists that we have mentored may not want to sign with 88 Rising after the mentorship. This is a low likelihood by high impact event because we believe the current proposition that 88 Rising have that can promote the Southeast Asian artists to the global scene will already entice them to want to sign with the label. But if such case happen, we'll provide incentive for these artists by upon successful signing, they will receive a signing bonus, which is a common practices here in Hong Kong as well. And lastly, we believe, as we all know, changes in structure of managers may not be easy for employee to implement. This is a high likelihood event with a low impact because we can mitigate this through having a weekly catch-up, regular catch-up with our employee to make them adapt to this new system and get them used to that. Now I'll pass back the time to my colleague Revisa to close in our presentation today.
Thank you, Andreas. Through our solution, Rebrand, Reach, and Reinforce, we aim to help 88 Rising grow sustainably in the future. We believe through our solutions, 88 Rising can keep on reminding people that being Asian is cool. Thank you. That's all for our presentation. We'd like to now open up the floor for Q&A.
Thank you, team from CTU. Let's put the timer at 50 minutes first before we start the Q&A. Okay, wonderful. Judges, please ask your questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I thought it was very well done and very clear. You mentioned expanding outside the current genre and trying to recruit artists from more diverse backgrounds. I wanted to ask in terms of your target market, it's your target audience still Asian Americans and the US? Are you expanding to other markets or other ethnicities?
Thank you for your question. I can take the question. So we're planning to target the Southeast Asian market. Basically, we're targeting the Southeast Asian because we believe that the Southeast Asian have the very big potential. They are very talented singers, but they don't have the opportunity to do so. So we plan to recruit the Southeast Asian artists and then be mentored with our 88 Rising developed artists there.
What about your end audience? So I understand, you're trying to get, some of the Southeast artists as well, Southeast Asian artists, but what about your target end audience?
Okay, so can I take the question? So I think basically we're still targeting the Asian American as well, but we get the Southeast Asian market as well as an additional. So as if we could see from the 88 Rising current roster, there's one performer named Nikki, which is brought by the label by the original 88 Rising artist, that is Rich Brian. So Nikki has a different genre of music. She made mainly a pop song, but she is still well received in the Asian American market, because as we have seen over the last few years, as my friend have told me as well, that goes to the college in the US, there's a lot of Asian American people that are also interested in this kind of Southeast Asian music, because they have a similar background and similar story. And this, on top of helping us getting this Asian American crowd, they can also help us to get this Southeast Asian market crowd. Because, for example, recently, as I mentioned, Nikki sold her, starting her world tour in some Southeast Asian countries, and the ticket got sold out in less than 3 hours. So it could help 88 Rising get more revenue while maintaining its competitiveness in the Asian American society as well.
Hi everyone, thanks for the presentation. Very much enjoyed it. If I could just talk on the people bit, and I think it was very good that you focused in this area, the organisation structure. You've clearly proposed a number of initiatives, and I noticed on the financial analysis on slide 29 that you don't anticipate any increase in staffing costs. And looking at it, the fact it's a small company, there's 200 employees, you've got a number of initiatives that are going to be introduced. Looking for your observations on sort of how realistic it is not to have an increase in staffing costs. Welcome your thoughts on that. Thank you.
I'll take the question. So I think it's a bit of maybe a mistake on my part, because I don't include the staffing costs, but because I made this assumption and didn't include the staffing costs, because at first I thought, because right now 88 Rising have a slightly under 200 employees that manage all range of activity in their company. And we believe that maybe some of the struggle that caused 88 Rising to not be performing as efficiently as it could is that maybe because the structure of the organization itself. That's why we believe through the hiring of the consultant, HR consultant, we could try to solve this problem. And instead of hiring from outside first, we can try to get people from the inside that already know the value and the culture of the company to higher power and help structure this organization better. But of course, if the 88 Rising keep growing in the trajectory that it has been, we will see an increase in the number of people that we must hire. So I apologize for not considering and not putting the people staffing costs in the cost breakdown.
Okay, no, that's very clear. Thank you. And just keeping on the people thing, the CEO is very important to this company. There's a heavy reliance. Just to get looking for your sort of bit more your thoughts on sort of how this promoting the vision internally interacts with that reliance on the CEO. Thoughts on that? Thank you.
I think I can take that question. So our solutions aims to actually provide a structures for how these organizations work. But of course, with these in mind, as we have mentioned in our recent mitigations part, that we want to align the visions better for the employees, but also having them catch up with these new structures that we create. And so I think perhaps a meeting or a training with our CEOs, where CEOs can actually delegate the task that he has been doing, how he is doing that task up until now, will be necessary for the employees to understand how the CEO manage the company from since its birth until its rise in a big brand right now. So that will be our steps on how we can actually align the visions. But also with this volunteering program, we want to keep reminding them about these visions that our CEOs has already actually incorporate in the company. And so with this training and volunteering and structuring, we believe that we could achieve this alignment of visions inside the company.
A little bit addition to that, I think because we have structured the company, as my colleagues mentioned in the presentation, that we can free up some time by the CEO. So the CEO can focus more on, for example, the talent scouting, because in the case it's mentioned that he has a knack for that, he has a gut feeling for that. So I think this kind of stuff will still rely on the CEO, because as we all know, the CEO, Sean, through the case, has been very, very incremental in the company in terms of like picking the right artists. So I think he will still do this stuff, but we want to free up as many time as we can using the structuring, so that the CEO doesn't have to be caught up in some administration stuff, and people will take care of that for him. So yeah, I think that's why we plan these two things in cohesion, so that we can help the company grow more in the future.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is around addressing the competitor. One of the early presentation was, you have a lot of deep pocket competitors. I did not see in terms of the risk analysis. Obviously, the competitor will not be just sitting around while you implement this plan. So one, how would you address the competitor? And in terms of the plans that you have, how would those be at risk because of the actions that the competitor may take?
I can take this. So from our analysis, we saw that a lot of major record labels are actually already doing things that are similar to 88 Rising. For example, Sony has their program called Off Mute that is dedicated to recruiting East Asian artists. And so that is why we have come up with our second solution, which is to capture a separated, unsaturated market. And we do believe that there are some risks associated with this, because if in a market like in the record label market, the record labels tend to copy each other. For example, the Universal, Sony, and Warner, they've all sort of taken the lead from 88 Rising and opened their own wings to recruit specifically East Asian talent. So we want to be the first mover in this market by addressing the Southeast Asian market, because Southeast Asian economies are developing, they're up and coming, and they also represent a huge percentage of the Asian American community in the US itself. So I would say one risk, like I mentioned, would be maybe the record labels may copy the same challenge that we did, and they make their own challenge, and they might also come up with their own documentaries. And we believe that these risks can be mitigated by the fact that 88 Rising is the first mover in the market regarding being the only record label right now that is predominantly Asian. They are known for having Asian artists, and that is why they resonate so much with especially Asian Americans, by providing them with like a stage and also a presence in the global market. Thank you.
If you could please go to the slide on your expectation of the gain in followers and artists towards the end. Yes. I wanted to just have a bit of context of 1.47 million new followers versus currently. I just wanted to assess the growth rate of that followers like a little bit more. And what is the timeline for this? Like, is it in the next 5 years, 1.47 million gain. In the next 5 years, 4 new artists. So just a little bit more details on the timeline and how you come up with this 1.47 and 4.
Understood. So I think in the terms of timeline, it's about 5 years from now. And the baseline, I think if I look at their YouTube channel, they have around 6.5 million. So it will be around closer to 20% of growth over the 5 years period. And regarding the calculation, I have included here in the appendix. So for the first solution, we know that we will produce this Netflix documentary. And first, how I come up with this number is that I calculate the percentage of Asian American as the percentage of US population. And then I funnel it down further by, for example, the number of Netflix subscribers that is Asian American. And then I've selected even further by their age category, because that's the age group that we want to target. And in the end, we get that, for example, the total target audience that we could reach from all Netflix subscribers in the Asian American community with certain criteria is 834,000 people. And then, for example, I assume that percentage of them that will be unfamiliar with 18 Rising is label in general is about 50%. So there might be gaining some new followers from this Netflix documentary. Not only that, but I also get this new followers number from our second solution, where we recruit these new artists. Like my colleague has mentioned earlier, these new artists have their own following in their own niche market in Southeast Asia. And that's why I believe, for example, if when they join our company, they have 100,000 subscribers, they will grow their subscribers with this growth rate. And this growth rate, I actually take it from one of 88 Rising current artists that is quite new to the company as well. Her name is Ilona Garcia, and she are from the Philippines market. And then I added some more assumption here. So for example, for the first year, maybe 70% of this new artist is not familiar with the 88 Rising in general. And then 50%, 35%, and 20%, and it's going down lower and lower every year. And we believe through the calculation of this, we can get around 1.26 million of people. And then because for the solution 1 and solution 2, there might be some overlap between each other regarding the followers that watch the documentary and also the followers from this new artist. We calculate that for the solution 1, maybe 50% is overlapping within the solution 1 and solution 2. And that's where we get the number 1.468 million number of new followers.
Could I ask a question, please, about how you measure success? So if there was one KPI, what would it be? But if we have time, I know we're running out, sort of expand it beyond the one would be great. Thank you.
I think regardless of regarding KPI, I think one of the easiest metrics for this would be the number of subscribers to our maybe YouTube, where we post our artists' new music video, and maybe the number of streamers in general, regarding like the number of listeners that each of our artists get in average from all this new listener that coming in. But I think it's also very important to measure how many are there, like cross-referencing, as my friend have mentioned. So like how many of this new listener that we got from new artists that we recorded that will also try to listen from our other artists. And I think that's very important. And that's what 88 Rising have been doing in the past, because they have been releasing all these albums where they basically ask all their artists in their record labels to sing together on a song to enable this cross collaboration between the two fan bases and two listeners as well. So I think that will be 3 KPIs that we will try to track and to measure as the sign of success of the solution.
Okay, thank you. I think, that was the end of the Q&A.